Hello, everyone. My name is Chris, and welcome to my Twitch channel. I have my buddy here, Michael. Say hi, Michael. Yeah,
Hello,
and
everyone.
so if you guys have been watching, I've been doing some robot sketches for the past maybe four, three, four, 3, 4 days, and it's super fun. And I keep telling you guys, oh yeah, there's this like little video game that my friend and I are working on, and I kind of want to talk to him to see if I could get permission to talk about it. And we talked about it, and we decided that we wanted to go on this take you guys on a path on a journey with us just to basically share what we are doing because Michael and I have been working uh, ever since last year, and we've been meeting like twice a week, like almost every week. Um, uh, uh, Except that one month when I had that freelance, I just kept working, right? Apologize for that. But yeah. Besides that, we essentially have been working for quite some time on various projects, right? And so we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But yeah, but Michael, really quick, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself, really quick, on this project that we've been working on?
Sure. Um, Hello, everybody. My name is Michael. I met Chris. I think Chris, we met like almost 10 years ago at this point. I think it was like 2012
Oh
or
God, yeah,
thereabouts.
yeah.
But Chris and I met through the theme park industry back when we were both working on the Shanghai Disneyland project at one point, and we became really good friends. And then we were also still working in the theme park industry in Japan on Super Nintendo World.
Hmm.
And once that project wrapped up, both Chris and we kind of found ourselves in the position of, um, not being on a crazy demanding theme park project and having, a lot of free time on our hands. And in playing a lot of Overwatch together,
Yeah, yeah.
one day Chris kind of made the suggestion that like, hey, we're both in between projects right now. We should do something.
Hmm.
And that really connected with me. And I said, that sounds like a great idea. And so we immediately began work on uh, basically entering a blue sky phase of trying to figure out what we were going to make. And very quickly settled on it being a game of some kind. And we'll talk more about the
Yeah,
journey of how we got to where we are now.
yeah.
But basically, where we are now is we're making a video game.
Hmm. Yeah, and we're very excited to bring you on board to essentially share with you guys the development, the concepts, the discussions, and some of our struggles. It's just basically everything. This will be kind of like our documented journal, right? Just to see what we've been talking about, right? So, but yeah, I don't want to talk too much about the history as we discussed. We'll definitely talk a little bit more about it in the Q&A session if you guys have any questions about how we got to where we are. But yeah, let's go ahead and start with the working session, Michael. I'm going to move this little tiny thing over. Well, move it up, move it up, move it up, something like that. There you go. This is our first video, so it's going to be a little bit amateurish. I promise we will get better as time goes on. All right. So Michael, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Why don't I go first, since I think the thing that I have is a bit shorter,
Sure,
and is a little
sure,
bit more of like show and tell and less,
sure.
hey, let's do a working session on this thing.
Okay.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me close this. Um, oh, and by the way, I guess we should say our kind of tentative plan for this stream is we're going to start with the introduction, which we're basically wrapping up at this point. Then Chris and I are going to go into our typical design session, which is, as Chris had mentioned, basically twice a week we meet and we work on the project. We at the end of each session, usually we have homework. Chris has homework and I've got homework. We go away, and then for 3 or 4 days, we kind of work on our individual pieces of the project. And then when we meet again, we share with each other, like, okay, here's what I got done since we last met. Um, the next part of the stream, the work session, is going to be, we're just going to give you a window into that process. So you're going to see
Hmm.
Chris and I working on the project, and we're not going to be paying too much attention to the chat during this time. We're just going to be kind of trying to focus on the work. Once that is completed, then we're going to do a Q&A session where we will actually be interacting with the chat, and we'll try to catch up on anything that we missed and answer questions, and maybe have a little bit more story time about how we got to where we are.
Right, right.
So with that said, to start the work session, I'm going to share my Unity screen.
Oh,
So
nice. Sweet.
where we left off last time, if I play the game here, this should all look pretty familiar, where you've got the ship flying on the rail system, right?
Right.
And of course, there's collision problems. It's like colliding with trees and stuff. The thing that has been added since then is I can now actually move the ship with
Oh,
the
cool.
WASDA keys. So
Nice.
you can, yeah, if we want to add a component of like having the player kind of like dodge trees and stuff, here, let me play that again, where you can see a little bit of like how this might work here, where if I go to this side, I'll actually collide with that tree, but I could try to like
Right,
move to, get in between these trees.
right.
What I learned how to do for this session was basically was a couple of things. Was one, how to get the ship to actually move left and right, up and down, how to receive input from the keyboard. But
Right,
also, you'll notice like if I press the A key to go to the left,
right.
and I'm still holding the A key, but it's stopped. It
Sure.
There is additional code you have to program in. So there's like code to program in to move it to the left, but there's also code that you have to program in to say, when you get to a certain point, stop, don't keep moving it.
Right.
Because without that code, you
It'll
can
just
keep
move off
holding
the
A and the
screen.
ship will just, yeah, it'll go off screen and it'll just
Got
keep
it.
going out to infinity.
Got it.
So there's a piece of code that does that. And in fact, if I go to the player ship,
Great job
uh,
programming this, by the way.
oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
guess I could just click on this here. So basically, without opening another
Right.
window here, because this is
Right.
the whole set of code here, um, the piece so basically you've got like process translation and process. And by the way, if any of this is like gets too pedantic and detailed and boring and it's not interesting,
No, no,
just
no.
tell me.
Please, please, man. Please.
The process translation is basically, it is a function that we made to calculate exactly what I just described,
Right.
to move the ship.
Right.
And so you've got what we call like the X throw. You can imagine like a pilot's joystick, where they're like moving the joystick, right? Throwing it to the left, throwing it to the
Yeah.
right, throwing it
Uh-huh.
forward, throwing it backward. So you've got this Y throw and this X throw. Um, that information is coming from the input.getAccess, which is basically just a fancy function that Unity uses to get information from the player.
Right.
So it has this like built-in system where it tracks for like WASDA to track X and Y input, but at the
Sure.
same time, it also, like if you've got a controller, the left joystick is also mapped to
Right.
horizontal and vertical input.
Right.
So by using just get access horizontal or get access vertical, Unity
Hmm.
is smart enough to know that if the player is using a controller, I want to be paying attention to the joystick, to the left analog stick. If the player is using a keyboard, I want to be paying attention to WASDA.
Right. Right.
Anyway,
Right. Right.
so that's how it's getting the input. And then I'm just taking that and basically this piece of code right here where it says raw X position,
Right.
transform.local position, you're basically just saying, all right, so wherever the ship is right now, it's
Uh-huh.
transform. Because you know how like when you go into, if I go back into the player ship here, this thing, that like the transform component of the ship
Mhm.
tells you like where its position is. Um, in the script, the local position refers to the basically like where it is right now, or like where it is like relative to itself, as opposed to where it is in the entire world.
Right, right.
And so when you do an offset for that, it's moving it like from where it is right now, like move it uh plus, well, in this particular case, it's plus the X offset,
Right.
which is the information that I'm getting from the player. I'm putting that into this variable called X offset, and I'm also putting it into another, the Y input into a variable called Y offset,
Uh-huh.
which is really just a way of controlling when the player is giving me input, when it's holding down the A key to move to the left,
Right.
store that information in X offset, which is coming from, the input, and then the time dot delta time thing. Do you remember how we had that conversation about if you run like a really fast computer?
Yes, yes. It's there's a variable to it where if you it could accelerate way too fast if your processing speed is really high. That's why I
Exactly.
remember playing like a super old emulator game on my super fast PC. The game just went like 100 miles an hour. Is
Yeah,
because they didn't have like a consistent speed, right? Oh, by the way,
exactly.
hello, Captain Blue. I see you. Ahoy, ahoy. Um, Michael here is the game developer. I am kind of like the artist. He's more or less teaching me or explaining me how he made the control. Captain Blue says delta seconds.
Yeah, yeah. Both
Yeah,
of you guys are on the right track there because time dot delta time is basically just a way to make the way that the game is processing input
hmm,
frame rate independent,
right.
because it's basically taking how many seconds, or it might be milliseconds, I think, each frame takes. And without getting into the math, it basically, as long as you're adding or multiplying that in,
Right,
if you're running on a really slow machine that's only running at like 10 frames per second, or a really fast
right.
machine that's running like 500 frames per second, um, it makes the operation of the game frame rate independent, so that way the ship doesn't move faster on a faster machine.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, do you mind
Um,
playing the thing again? It's
sure.
yeah, it looks great, dude. Great job again. Man,
Thank you.
that is cool.
And there's one other thing that's kind of an interesting thing that I noticed while
Whoa.
doing this, that we can talk a little bit about in a second here. But basically, without going through all the rest of the code, um, that's what's
That's
going on
cool.
in there. That's what I've
Yeah,
done since we last talked. The
yeah.
one thing that I think is worth discussing from like a design perspective
Hmm.
is, or actually, let me go back into the scene mode. One of the things that I noticed was, do you remember when we had placed the camera, like let's get it nice and close to the
Yeah, like
cockpit?
first person shooter kind of deal.
Exactly. So we kind of did something like this. And then
Right.
when you play it, it actually looks like, oh man, now I'm, basically inside the
Yeah,
cockpit.
that's cool.
The the challenge here, and I think I've already got a solution, is now if I move this ship, it does this. And it's
Oh,
like,
there you
oh,
go.
well,
Hmm, hmm.
that's not going to work out.
Right, right.
Um, but I think what we could do is we could still allow that movement, but we'll just have to, instead of moving the ship independent of the camera, we'll have to move the ship and the camera.
Can't can't you don't you just and obviously it's what the statement I'm gonna make is it's not just oh just do this. But can't you
It's just that easy.
take can't you take the camera and put it in the parent it to the ship?
Um,
And then so when you move the ship, it
yeah.
the camera will move along with it?
Well, the way I have it set up right now is that there's an empty object called the player rig, which is
Right.
basically the parent object for the camera and the player ship. So if I move the
Oh,
rig,
it is
it'll move
already.
both of them.
Right, right, right. Okay.
Um, but currently, and I mean, this is something that we can decide, or it's probably going to be more complicated to program. So it's probably going to be easier for us to make the decision and then just make the game that way. But
Right.
there could be an option to let the player decide, like, do you want to do a sort of like close up first person perspective, and then we'll move your ship and the camera at the same time? Or do you want to
Right.
do third person? We'll hold the camera in one place and then your ship can move independent of it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool. That
But yeah, that
not
was,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna
Well,
say
I was
that
just gonna, okay, you go.
I will. I'll go ahead. Um, basically, like whenever I'm spectating you playing Overwatch, I could go into a third person mode, like of watching you
Mm-hmm.
as Ryan bashing people's heads, or I could just look at you from your POV. I more or less have the decision of how I want to view spectate your game in Overwatch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So we could give that option to the player. But like I said, that's potentially beyond my programming chops. And I'm
sure,
not sure
sure.
if that's something that we'll get into in the, the Unity course that I'm taking.
Right.
Um,
One question that I apologize. This question is
sure.
from Captain Blue Blue.
Mhm.
He says that I know Unity and Unreal is different, but can you attach the camera to a socket? I have no idea what that means. Do you have
I
any
don't know what a
idea what that
socket is
means?
either.
Okay.
No.
Just FYI, Captain Blue Blue, that Michael and I were both kind of learning the two softwares. He's learning Unity. I'm kind of learning Blender, and we're trying to combine our forces and more or less make a video game. And so yeah, maybe that's something that we can look into. Whatever a socket is. Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Blue Blue. Really appreciate that. Your input is awesome, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I
Um,
love it.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, that's about it. The
Cool.
next thing that I'm going to be working on is, in addition to moving the ship, you remember that thing that I was talking about with like the with rotating the ship? Oh, actually, I can show you that sort of crazy thing that I was talking about. So if I've got the ship here, and if I want to move it into like this rotation, this
Uh-huh.
exact rotation, where it's
Right.
like -30 on the x-axis and 30 on the y-axis, if
Right.
it's easy to just type it in there in the transform field. But if I want to actually like rotate it into that position myself, if I start with rotating in the X and kind of like try to get it into like -30-ish, like about
Yeah.
there, there we go. That's close enough. And now I want to rotate on the Y. You'll notice what happens is it's also rotating on the Z and X.
Sure.
So once I
X.
get it into 30 and the Y,
Right.
well, now the other ones are messed up. So then I got to like try to compensate and like, okay, let me get the X one back in there. But once I do that, then the Y one and the Z one is moving. So that's a bit of a pain.
Right.
But if I rotate the Y first, the yaw, and get
Uh-huh.
that into position,
Oh, this is what you were talking about yesterday. Yeah.
mhm,
Right, right,
and
right.
now if I rotate this, it's no problem.
Oh,
So there's
interesting.
like, and again, I don't completely understand the like geometrics and the mathematics of it, but basically the in that script, you can see a little bit of it starting down here in this process rotation where you've got this transformed at local rotation, the quaternion and the Euler
Or turning. Sure.
uh,
Yeah.
function stuff. This basically figures out how to do that so that way you can get the ship into the exact position that you want
Right.
without it encountering those weird rotational conflicts where it's like
Right.
you're trying to rotate it in one direction, but it's when you do that, then it's screwing up the other rotations that you already had.
Right.
So again, I don't completely understand it. It's pretty complicated math.
Right.
But that's the next step for me.
Nice. 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 Very cool, man. Do you mind playing
Yeah,
it one more time?
sure.
I love seeing it play through. Although even though I'm looking at this right now, I foresee a issue with our first level, and I could visually show you why I think it's a issue, but I will tell you
Okay.
later when I show you something. But what you have right now is freaking amazing. I love seeing it. Again, I want to make it and put it in VR so that I could,
Go in VR.
yeah, watch it go all the way around.
Um, Preference on where the camera or where you like the camera? Do you like it closer to the cockpit or do you like it
Let's
further
farther
back?
away. Yeah, I mean, I would assume most our game is probably going to be played this way, maybe. I,
Yeah, well, I mean,
yeah,
this is
I don't
probably
know.
something that we're going to explore as we go.
Right.
and we'll have to make a
That's so
decision
cool.
at some point.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, and I,
Uh,
uh-huh.
oh, sorry. I'll go ahead and say what I'm gonna say is the reason why what you have right now is so cool is because you're kind of going through like a ravine, like a trench, mountainside. I did a quick, super quick concept sketch painting
Mm,
of of our game level one in a farm.
mm-hmm.
There's no
Sweet.
there's no trenches
There's no
to fly
ravine,
through.
there's
There's
no
no ravine. There's no nothing there. So I was just like, we have to come up with, or I mean,
we
go ahead.
we can definitely do something like that because in like agricultural areas, there's usually some kind of aqueduct system or
Okay.
irrigation systems. You could
Uh-huh.
have like a nice big trench that is intended for like, oh, when the rainy season comes, like this, we'll fill this up with water. And that's how we move a bunch of water around. But right now, the water's
Great.
really low, so we can go and
Great.
fly in there.
Good. All right. Yeah, I definitely will need your guidance and a suggestion as well.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. But that's it. That's all I got.
Okay, sweet. Thank you so much, man. And Captain Blue says, "Oh, interesting. I went to uni for game dev as a 3D artist years ago. A socket in Unreal Engine is fixed point in space for a game object, normally attached to bones. You can attach static object or other skeletons to do it. Starting to disturb the flow. No, no, man. Thank you so much for your input, dude. He also says you could have two cameras and switch between
Mm,
in the future
that's a good
depending
idea.
on player preference. Man, this is the
There
reason
you go.
why,
Yeah, that makes
like,
perfect sense.
oh, thank you so much, Captain. Really appreciate it. By the way, I met Captain Blue in someone else's stream, and he added me, and I added him as well, or her. Sorry, I don't know. I don't know you yet, but I will get to know you a little bit better. But thank you again so much for your
Yeah,
input.
thanks, Cap.
That was awesome,
That's
man.
great.
Yeah,
That
cool.
makes perfect sense now.
Yeah. How far are you along with the tutorial now? At this point right now, is
Um,
it halfway done, almost done,
Let me
or
see. Hang on one second. I'm keeping
yeah,
track
take
of,
your time, man.
let's see here. Do. Add trees. I did that. Animate. Prepare ship. Start
Him.
moving up
Got it.
here.
Thank you.
Let's look over to. Okay, I think that's where I am now.
So I am going to start pulling up files so that Michael and I can discuss. And I shall switch it over. If it's okay with you, Michael, I'm going to share my screen with you.
Sure.
Um,
I think I'm about a third of the way through this tutorial,
Holy
so there's
cow!
two-thirds to go.
You're not even
I
finished with the tutorial yet you already know how to like fly through everything. That's freaking awesome, dude.
and that's just for this like Star Fox type project.
Yeah,
There's many more hours
yeah.
to go.
So let me go ahead and share my screen with you, which is screen one right there, and I will drag our faces into this screen right here.
I'm gonna
Yay.
close some things.
There you
Don't
go.
need that running. Close this. Save.
All right. Let's see. Boom.
Close this.
All right. And so, Michael, I'm going to open up some concept art that I did last week. And
Excellent.
we talked
And this is
about,
30.
or my homework assignment from last week was essentially start creating robots. Essentially, will it down to like four types, right? Kind of like a mini boss, a fuel bot, kind of attack bot, and a carrying bot, like a one that's like a harvester. Let
Yeah,
me go
a
ahead and
snatcher bot.
sure, yeah. So let me go ahead and put this here. Oh crap, it's loading in a different screen. Uno
Oh,
momento,
no
por
problem.
favor. Sorry. All right, it's still loading. Oh man, my computer's like totally chugging now. All right, so let me just upload it here. I'm not gonna show that one because that one's not ready yet. Can I move this? Okay, good. All right, move that over there. Put this right here. Put this right here. Can you see it? Okay.
Yes, I can see it just fine. I'm waiting for it to show up. Okay, yeah, now it's showing up on the stream.
Okay, great. Close
Wow,
this one.
cool.
And this one you've basically seen. So let me just share with the chat and the stream really quick.
Sure.
Um, so my assignment was to come up with things that we can shoot at. And I kind of did like this technique where I learned in school where you kind of just make silhouettes from a like rough brush and then you just start, drawing and finding interesting shapes that can be made into anything, like in our case robots, right? So basically I just took this and then just started painting shapes and then seeing what shape really calls out to me, right? And none of these are finalized. These are just, kind of exercises to make my exercise my brain, get my wrist going, let the juice flow kind of deal. And so there's that. Let me go ahead and close that. So we saw this last week, so we don't need to see this again. I'm going to, unless you want to take a look at it, Michael. Do you have any comments on this one?
On the overall,
Yeah,
the big no, that's great. I think
sweet.
your explanation was perfect. It's basically
Great.
just a way to explore possibilities.
Right. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. Only reason why is so that my CPU doesn't die on me.
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh,
that's
no, no,
that's
no.
fine.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. What's up?
Well, the last thing that I was going to say is what we could also do is point out the ones that we picked that we said like, oh, let's develop those further. That way people can see where we started, like what the jumping off point was from
Yeah.
that initial uh, big set.
Oh, let me close this one. Let me close this one. Um, to be super honest, I remember the one. Was it this? I mean, before I started modeling this in 3D, and
Yep.
that's when I realized that, oh God, maybe instead of trying to model it now, it's probably better to conceptualize what it would look like kind of like a full lineup
In
first.
2D.
Yeah, in 2D first
Mm-hmm.
before I start, getting into trying to make all these in 3D. Do you remember which one we picked?
Well, I remember, yes, it was that Snatcher one, the one that's got like the little blue diamond underneath the claw that it's grabbing. So yeah, it was
Yeah,
that one,
yeah.
but that was also partially because you had done that additional
Right,
experiment.
right.
That was one. We like the little green uh, bottled fuel container ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, like that guy was one.
right.
We also picked. We wanted the shield bot,
Oh,
which was
right,
kind of
right,
like
right.
a late edition, but we were like, oh man, that
Yeah.
shape is super cool. That like
Hmm.
4 point star kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
right.
We had also said that we were going to do like a general drone, like a fight drone, but I don't
Yeah,
remember which one we picked for that. That might have been just like we were just like, just generic
right,
TIE fighter type one.
right, 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 right. So yeah, it's safe to say, and I totally apologize. When I was designing the new round, I did not look at these guys at all.
That's okay.
I
No
was like,
problem.
I was just like, oh, doodle, doodle, doodle. Oh, okay, this one's kind of cool. I just kept going into another direction, knowing that I had to design a fighter, a fuel, a mini boss, and
Hmm.
whatnot.
Hmm.
So yeah. But no, thank you for pointing that out, man.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely we like this one. These guys, and you'll see that I actually did design a few robots, flying bots with these little things right there. So let me go ahead
Awesome.
and yeah. And let's actually talk about that as we are mentioning that. So everything that's green is fuel, like robot fuel. And so when I was designing all this in 3D, I realized that, God, I kind of wish I drew a side, top, and three-quarters view so that I can actually model this,
Mm,
not trying to struggle, trying to figure out how to freaking, design the shape of it all. And so to me, I was like, oh, for this guy, I was like, okay, what does it look like from the front? And what does it look like from the side? And what does it look like from the top? And what does it look like in three-quarter view? Again,
I
they're super rough.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like as you're saying that, I can hear the sounds of all the 3D modelers out in the world, like sighing in relief, like, yes, finally a 2D artist who understands. We want to know what does it look like from this particular angle without having to
Yeah.
go back and ask, like, what does the
Yeah.
back of this thing look like? You only drew the front of it.
Yeah. And the only reason why I did this is because now that I am dabbling in 3D, now I'm realizing, oh,
You feel the pain.
you mother
Yeah.
freaking, you just drew one front view and you want me to do the work, right?
Yeah.
Figure out what the side view and top view is, then give me the concept art. Because yeah,
Hmm.
basically, there's various ways to do this. Because there are game companies who 3D modelers who are freaking amazing. All they need is just this is all one layer. Sorry. All they need is a three-quarter view, and bam, they're
Hmm.
good. They can move and
Wow.
model the just shit out of it. It's great. Some other companies, I think they require front, side, top, so that there is no way to misconstrued what the design is. There is no misinterpretation of, oh yeah, this is what it should look like based on my point of view, right? So having these front, side, top is kind of important. But for our purposes, it's just me doing the exercise of um, what you call it. Just for me, if I were to model it today, I know what I need to model. Like from the top, what does it look like? From the side, what does it look like? And from the front, and it should more or less look like this at the end of the day. Um, and and with that said, I got super lazy. I didn't want to do a front, side, top view for all of them. Right now, I just kind of want
Sure.
to do like a three-quarter view of
Yeah.
of
While
of
you're
these.
exploring, sure.
Exactly, exactly. So these are what I came up with so far for the fuel guys. I can tell you which one's my favorite. This guy's my favorite right now. Um, this guy is pretty cool. This guy is kind of like a canister waiting to inject someone,
Hmm.
or a robot. Same thing with this guy. So again, I'm still kind of exploring. I'm not married to any one of them. It's currently right now just more or less an exercise. But if you see anything that you like a lot, please let me know. Or if you told, like I said yesterday, if you don't feel like this shape language is not good, or not that it's not good, but it's not appropriate, then let me know, and let me know what's the feel you get from looking at this. Because more or less, when people look at a certain shape, it emotes a certain feeling. And then so when
Hmm.
you look at these, do you feel like, oh yeah, these are alien form robots coming to get us, if you will? But yeah, what is your feedback on these, man?
Sure. Um, love the color palette. Like that sort of that silver gray
Hmm.
combined with the that particular like vat of green goo kind of green. I
Right.
think that's awesome. And
Hmm.
I, which I had mentioned in a previous session, I really also like the red accent as sort of the a recurring motif of like weak point to shoot.
Right.
Um, so that I really like. And it's interesting what you mentioned about the shape. That's something to maybe think about. Maybe the different types of enemies can gravitate towards different shape silhouettes that
Hmm.
then can,
Hmm.
in addition to just the specific silhouette of like, the fuel drone versus the claw drone or whatever.
Hmm. Hmm.
In addition to that, maybe there's like a class or like a group of drones that all share a same general shape. Maybe there's
Right.
like three or four different fuel drones, but they are all like a portrait oriented pill shaped.
Sure. Sure.
Um, and then all of the claw drones are all kind of uh, like a more landscape
Horizontal.
rectangle with
Right.
a triangle on the bottom. And they
Right.
might be different sizes and different general silhouettes, but they all kind of have that same. Like if you reduce the silhouette down to its absolute most primitive and reductive
Hmm.
shapes,
Hmm. Hmm.
everyone within that family of drones would
Hmm. Hmm.
always would all look the same.
Right.
Um,
We're
so that's an
simplifying.
interesting.
essentially we're simplifying the functionality based on their shape. Like once we see
Yeah.
like a horizontal thing, oh, it's that. Or once we see like a certain color, oh, it's that, right? It's something that
Hmm.
makes us go, boom, that shape triangle, it's a
Exactly.
fighter, right? It's going to attack us. Its
Right.
purpose is to attack us, right? Got it.
Bingo.
Yeah.
With that said, with the drone ships in particular, the one thing that's kind of standing out to me are the like these needle type shapes.
Hmm.
I think these are too threatening for the fuel drone. I feel like the fuel drone should be the least threatening of the enemies. It should be the one
Sure.
that is like almost completely defenseless
Hmm.
without
Hmm.
its supporting cast of shield drones and fighter drones and things like that.
Right.
I think it's totally fine to have them have some kind of mechanism that is included to like, oh, that's where it would attach and refuel other ships, or
Right.
where it would collect resources from this container using some kind of nozzle system and then transport it and stick it in some other thing.
Right.
Um, but some of these, like this one and this one
Hmm. Hmm.
and this guy over here, they feel like they could fight to me. I feel like those things could actually do battle and maybe would have guns. Like these things actually look like guns to me.
Right.
And so maybe that thing would be shooting. And I feel like maybe for I'm not ready to say all of the fuel drones, but maybe most of the fuel drones should be pretty defenseless and helpless.
That's a great point. That's really good. Yep, I totally agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and generally, I like the vertical containers more than the horizontal ones,
Hmm. Hmm.
just generally. But I also really like this guy. This guy's kind of cool. He's kind of like holding this container. The one thing about that guy is maybe the container should be much bigger than him, because it should look like he's carrying like a like his function is
Ah.
to, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I'm sorry. You
Like
were
the
saying his function is what?
well, yeah, his function is just to carry as much fuel as possible. Like it would be
Sure.
very inefficient if all of your fuel drones could only carry this like tiny little bit
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
fuel.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And if it's bigger, it also makes it an easier target for the player. So the bigger things are easier to shoot than the smaller things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there could be a point later in the game where you've got a more like dense energy resource, and so the canisters are smaller, but maybe they cause like a bigger explosion, but they're harder to hit.
Right.
So you've got smaller
Right.
drones. But generally, like from a game design perspective, I'm thinking that the fuel canister or the fuel drone should be defenseless, pretty easy to hit, and have like a, a pretty big explosion that happens. So
Mm-hmm.
they're, but maybe they've got a lot of armor. So you really gotta shoot into that thing in
Right.
order to make it blow up. But
Right.
if you do, uh, take that trade off, like I'm gonna ignore these other enemies and shoot this one in order to get that explosion, that's going to cause like a nice big amount of damage. And maybe if you're like firing into a collection of them, well, if I can blow up that one that's next to all the others, it'll cause this chain reaction.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so having like this nice big juicy green target,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think like the ratio between drone and fuel canister, the fuel canister should really dominate that ratio,
Got it.
I think.
Got it. That's a great note. Obviously it's recorded in the video now so that I will definitely watch this again. Um, and and essentially, so now I know that you like the more vertical version, and make them, I would say based off of your comment, proportion wise 80/20. 80% of it is the
Mm,
fuel and 20% is the little tiny guy just holding it. It's like, oh God, I gotta hurry
yeah,
up and
yeah,
carry
yeah.
it there. Yeah. Okay.
That could be
That's,
adorable.
yeah, I'll definitely think about that when I'm designing for the next round. But the great thing about this is I can repurpose the ones that look too threatening to have another function. I, instead of
Totally.
the green, it could be another. I could paint it another color. So it could just be repurposed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like this guy is awesome. I think that like if you can take this thing down here and turn it into maybe some kind of high powered laser beam that
Yeah.
turns on and like sweeps across the screen, like man, that would be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one I think is really neat. This kind of looks uh like a actually this one looks like a fighter drone to me. Like
Good.
its
Good.
primary purpose would be to just attack.
Nice.
And this guy I love, and especially like him carrying something, but maybe he's carrying some other thing, or maybe
Mhm.
this could be like a different version of the snatcher. Instead of being a claw, maybe it's a clamp. So it can go
Yeah.
and like clamp onto whatever it's stealing and then fly away with
Right.
it.
Right. Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
and this guy over here is awesome too. Um, Especially with the like the quad guns. This feels like if the proportions changed on this, that this guy might even make a good mini boss, really. Because then
Yeah.
you could like you've got to shoot this gun, and then you've got to shoot this gun, and then you got to shoot this one, and then this one, and then once you've gotten all of them off, then you can shoot the middle and blow
Yeah.
him up.
That's cool. That's a great point. That's awesome.
Good job with these though. Like these look
No,
awesome, dude.
thanks, man. Thanks. It was a lot of fun. I came on here and just streamed and chat with the chat family, and then just kept painting when I'm interacting with them. So it's a good way to unwind as well as, exercise the mind. But yeah, cool.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much for the feedback on these. These are great. Let me go ahead and minimize these. Actually, if you don't mind, I want to go ahead and close it so that my computer can run a little
Yeah.
bit
No
faster. Cool,
problem.
thanks, man. All right, so got it. Thank you. Do not
Oh,
save
cool.
and do not save. So really quick, I did a version of I didn't do too many version of the grabbing bots. I got kind of carried
Okay.
away with the attacker bots, but this is one of the um, like scavenger bots, if you will. They just go and just collect things and they just fly off.
Yeah.
Um, I did a front side pop quarter three quarter view. Yeah. What, sorry, I don't you don't have much option to choose from. I definitely need to do a little bit more on this end. So take it as is right
Sh-
now and let me know your thoughts.
Sure. The first thing that jumps out to me, again, I like the color scheme and I like the general shapes too, especially the shapes of the arm. Like this arm shape right here, that that's kind of doing this sort of a thing.
Mhm.
Sorry, like the fidelity of the annotations in Zoom are not the greatest, but like really love
No,
that arm shape. That
no
looks
worries. Yeah,
awesome.
cool.
Um, from like a functional and game design perspective, the one thing that's kind of jumping out at me is the angle, like the position of like where, like if he's grabbing something here, if it's like a nice big box thing like this,
Uh-huh.
um, it's going to be blocking his face. And so, and we kind of want to maintain that this is the spot where you shoot things,
Right.
which actually maybe that's kind of cool. Maybe if he's carrying a crate, you have to shoot the crate first and then
Right.
you can shoot his face. So
I
I
I
don't know.
I I actually thought about that a little bit before I actually had this on another, oh shoot, another layer. Let me go ahead and cut this really quick. Cut. And then if he is
Hmm.
holding something, he would be, holding
Oh,
again, I mean,
his arms
obviously,
would like rotate down.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's great.
So sorry. Again, my computer is just, crap. This is the rest of his body, let's just say, right? Okay,
Hmm.
anyways. And then, whoops,
And
let's
then the thing he's
say,
carrying goes down there.
yeah. But I do like what you said about, we have to destroy the arm first before, or we have to destroy the box first so that it goes down and then we hit the face, if you will. Don't hit me!
Hmm. Yeah,
Peekaboo!
he
Ah!
uses it as a
Ah!
shield.
Ah! Yeah,
Though, though I do think if some of the things that he's stealing are like, oh, he stole the cows, like you
yeah.
wouldn't want to shoot the cow first to get to him.
The count explodes.
Yeah, poor cow. Like,
I know. Yeah, well, I mean, we could definitely talk about. I'll come up with more designs. I apologize. I kind of got
sure,
carried away
but
with
no, I
the
mean,
other stuff.
this is yeah. Though I do really like this one, and with the arm functionality where it kind of like bends down. If this was the carrier bot that we ended up with the game, like I'd be happy with. Like this is really cool. But please
Yeah.
do explore if
Yeah.
you feel if you're not feeling
Yes. Yes. Definitely. I'm not 100% happy with the I'm just calling call these scavenger bots from now on, just so that I
Okay.
don't keep tongue-tying myself. Or transporter, not scavenger. I'm gonna say scavenger bot, not transporter.
Scavenger bot. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I feel like transporter for the design you have is better. Scavenger, I would assume, would be a bot with a little bit more functionality where it could like climb things and cut things and
Uh-huh.
like take things apart.
Right.
Um, but a transporter bot's like its only function is I grab a thing, I carry a thing, I deliver a
Okay.
thing, I go get
Okay.
another thing.
All right. So we'll keep the transporter bot then.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Good. All right. Good. Yeah, because there is
But
there is a reason why I named it a transporter bot and not a scavenger bot.
yeah, because it's just carrying stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is this one here? Sorry. And property should be here. Sorry, my Photoshop is acting so weird these past few days. Okay. All right. Thank you for your notes on this one. I'm gonna go ahead and
Sure.
close this. Do not save. Captain Blue, actually, Poop with Sprinkles. He says, I agree with Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know which part, but I agree with what he says.
The whole thing.
Uh, the whole thing, yeah. And also Captain Blue says this comes later, but if you texture the fuel white, the programming can recolor the needs later
Oh,
by overlaying the
cool.
texture, cheaper for the game processing wise. Thank you.
Man, Captain Blue
Awesome.
coming through.
Yeah, he's bringing in the knowledge,
Thanks, man.
man. Dropping the mic. Or the amount of textures, I mean. Yeah, no, seriously, thank you so much. That is awesome. So for the next one, I call this guy Bot Ball.
Ooh.
So he flies out. Like think of like a bigger bot, like mini boss maybe, is
Hmm.
like spitting these little balls out, and then it would just come flying at us, and then all of a sudden it would like decrease in acceleration, and then it would just pop open from all sides, and then it could do like some type of like spinning effect or like something like this. Like it opens up and it's like so doing something crazy, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is kind of like me just trying to show. Actually, I did two more, but I cropped it for forgetting that there was actually two things hidden here, and then so I was like, ah, crap. So unfortunately, I cropped out the other two images. But anyways, it was just showing from going from a ball expanding vertically and then expanding I'm sorry, expanding horizontally and then expanding vertically. And then so it kind of makes this like cross what is it called? Exploded ball that
Yeah, yeah. Like
makes
an
a
exploded view.
yeah, exactly. And then inside here would have like little machine guns that would shoot at us.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a thought that it's like, oh, maybe this is another thing that we could try to kill or shoot at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the animation potential, and from like a game design perspective, when it is spinning or it's in like its collapsed ball state, it's indestructible. You can't get
Yeah.
the red eye, so that's really
Right.
cool.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's cool. The only other note, and I don't have like a an idea for it, but it could be cool if its weapon, like it's definitely perfectly functional if you know when it pops open, it's got guns on the sides that it can shoot.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But it might be cool if it had some other weapon that incorporated the spinning mechanic. So maybe it has like blades on the sides or like whips that come out, and so when it spins around, it's
Oh,
like a weed
yeah.
whacker or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, like
But
shing,
as
like blades, and then it starts to spin, and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Your weed whacker is it's a good analogy, or it's a good reference.
There you go.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
that's awesome,
cool. Love it. Ballbot.
awesome. Let me close that. Go ahead and close this, and we'll go ahead and talk about some of the attackers, attack fighters.
Mm,
This guy, I actually made him into a kind of a mini boss. I'll get your input on that later.
okay.
But these are more or less kind of attackers. Um, yeah, what do you think? I just again, this is just me playing around with shapes. What do you feel? Which one is calling to you to destroy it? Excuse me.
The very first one that jumps out at me is this one
Nice.
on just an emotional level.
Hmm.
And then my first thought about this one is maybe there should be more distinction between the arm guns and the lower gun here. Maybe the arm guns are a different type of weapon and the bottom one is like a more powerful weapon.
Sure.
Or maybe, well, I was gonna say maybe there isn't a lower one, and if it's just a, ooh, you know what? Actually, what could be really cool with this guy is if this is like the general shape for the fighter drones, um, maybe they all have this upper component, and then this bottom component changes depending on the level of difficulty of the drone. Like maybe some of them have like a laser down there, some of them have
Sure.
like a missile pod or something.
Yeah.
Um, maybe some have, I don't know, some giant energy sword or something.
Right.
But that one's cool. Okay, this guy down here, this really is reading to me more like some kind of communications
Sure.
dish,
Sure.
like maybe a stationary bot, or I mean, I
Hmm.
guess it could be flying too, but maybe because you know these components are kind of reading like either solar panels
Satellites. Yep.
or yeah, like a satellite array.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, this guy is awesome. Like I love the guns on this, and then these like panels on the sides that are kind of acting sort of both like wings and
Hmm.
so like shoulder pads, like shields. Like that's really cool.
Yeah.
We might even be able to get away with this one being something kind of like a mounted turret. So maybe it's like a stationary turret if you put it on some kind of base.
Oh, right.
Um,
Yeah.
and then it's just spinning around and shooting you from
Yeah.
like ground level or something.
Yeah. And if all this like attack happens, he's like, "Oh, man, better get the frack out of here." And then so he just flies and flies out.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
really cool idea.
Yeah.
Oh man, that would be really awesome. That would be a really neat gameplay moment if like in the earlier levels you're seeing this guy and he's always stationary and you
Hmm.
know
Hmm.
he just stays there. So if you fly past it, like, okay, well, I guess that guy's gone. I don't need to worry about it anymore. And
Yeah.
then later it's like we've upgraded them and now they
Right.
actually detach from their base and chase you. You're like,
Right.
oh man, this thing
That's
that I
cool.
didn't have to worry about before, now it's gonna chase me.
Yeah. That's good. That's a really good idea.
This guy, I like the shape. I think it looks cool, but it the guns aren't really reading to me unless this was like if we changed the tips a little bit to
Hmm. Hmm.
indicate some kind of like maybe if there's more of like a indicator of blue, then
Right.
maybe it does to sort of like Death Star thing where it's got these three beams that come together and then shoot it out like this
Yeah. Yeah.
that combine. But right now it doesn't quite read that way. Maybe with animation it would be fine. Like maybe if you just like when it animates, you've got these like little glowing balls that start here and they charge and they get bigger and bigger
Yeah.
and bigger. And then when they reach a certain like critical mass, then they all combine and shoot this
Y-
like giant laser out.
Yeah. It's
So
just it is
could
the
be
Death
cool.
Star. Yeah. It uses kyber crystals to power up and yeah.
Yeah. There you
Yeah. That's
go.
cool. And by the way, keep in mind, all these bots that I'm designing, I'm hoping
Mhm.
that I can animate it for them to
To
be in a
contract
rest
and
position. Yeah,
expand and
exactly. So
oh, cool.
when you look at all of these, I'm hoping that
Uh-huh.
a lot of them is like and then
Mm,
and then when it's done fighting, it goes and then retracts back and then just flies off. So I want definitely to have some type of opening up, expanding, um,
yeah.
feel to them. So if you look a little bit closely, you'll see like the potential areas for it to close, for it to expand and contract. That's something that I'm keeping in mind when I'm designing. Yeah,
No, that's awesome. That's
yeah,
uh, great idea and good to know. So now I'm going to look at them with like a little bit of a different perspective. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, next one I'm looking at, we'll do this guy. Look at this guy. Um, this one, it feels kind of similar to this guy up here to
Hmm.
me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I like this. Well, I like them both. Maybe these two exist in the same family, and maybe these are like missile bots,
Ooh,
where they're
yeah.
like or like bomber bots, because these feel, both of these feel much heavier, like they've got more armor and that they'd be slower than some of these other ones. Like these guys down here feel like they'd be really fast to me.
Sure.
Um, these two more squared, more angular ones up at the top feel like they'd be slower and beefier, but would
Right.
carry a, a very heavy payload.
Right.
So I like those, and then I think this is where like the rockets and bombs and stuff would be coming
Right.
out of for these
Mhm.
guys.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so like those, but I think they maybe fit into like a bomber class.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, let's do this one next. Um, this one's fine. There's something about this one that I'm it's not that I don't like it, but there's like a design confusion happening in my brain where I can't
Mhm.
tell immediately what the function is. Or like with a lot of these other ones, like with these guys, I'm like, oh, that's the bomber. Those are heavy duties. Like, oh, these
Sure.
guys are the fighters. Like,
Sure.
and then this guy's like a turret and or flying turret, and this one's
Right.
a
Satellite.
communications tower.
Yeah.
This one, I don't. There isn't something that immediately reads to me of like what that is.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. No,
Um,
that's great. That's good feedback. Great.
okay. And then this guy over here is cool, but I feel like this is part of a much larger thing. Like this looks like it would be the top half or maybe the head of like some mech where you've got like a mech body that's going to be down here and then
Sure,
this
sure,
sits on top. Maybe it
sure.
detaches from it and then you've got this like headless mech body, this like big bulky mech body that's kind of walking
Yeah.
around. But
Yeah.
this definitely feels to me, especially with like this component here, feels like it would rotate down to protect the eye,
Yeah, that's exact. Well, actually,
almost like a helmet.
the top and bottom would be expanding kind of
Or
like
they come
this.
together.
Yeah, to
Mm,
protect the eye.
which is super cool. Like, yeah, with that said, even more reason to make that the sort of like head component of kind of like a mech where
Right.
that thing closes down and this thing comes up when he's like, okay, I'm in protected mode. Now you can't hit my weak spot. And then you've
Yeah.
got to either wait or do something to trigger those pieces to open back up again to expose it.
Right. 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 Right.
But
No,
overall, that like
yeah, this is great.
shape and design, I love it, but I think that's where it should go.
Got it. Got it. No, it's
Good
so
work, man.
good. No, thank you. It's so good to know that it's so good to get another eye on this to actually let me know exactly how you feel because I've been drawing these for the past 3 days and I'm just drawing it. I have design in my mind, but until I
Mhm.
show it to someone else and get their feedback, then that definitely it definitely helps to either confirm what I'm drawing or it doesn't work, right? And to me, you're much more of a gamer than I am. You actually are more conditioned to see shapes and with the whole video design aspect of it, because yeah, I mean, I'm just designing off of the top of my head, right? But you actually have some knowledge and when you look at it, you feel a certain way. So when you said, yeah, I don't really, those two feel like bombers. Like these feel like they shoot missiles. This is like a satellite, which you're actually dead on. This did start it as a satellite. I didn't really have anywhere to put them because he's a satellite, so I was like, "Ah, fuck it, I'll just
Mhm.
put him with the attack bots. Kudos to you, man, for figuring that out.
There
Um,
you go.
yeah. Cat
Should we
Blue
do a chat
says
check-in?
yeah, let me see really quick. Cat, Blue top right. He said top right screams mini boss to me. Yeah, that definitely has some
Mm,
multifunctional fighter and homing missiles. Yeah, thank you so much,
good call. I
Cat.
agree.
That's great. Redline Dragon. Hey man, how are you doing? It's good to have you here. This is my buddy Michael. We are currently talking about some of the designs that I made. Cat Blue also asked how big compared to your ships are these? Um, we don't know. I mean, they could be this big or they could be freaking huge. Right now, I'm just trying to just figure out the shapes of it all. But I mean, we'll probably be able to answer that questions in a few weeks, right? We'll do kind of like this is the biplane size compared to the rest of the ships. It could be small, it could be big. But yeah, that's a great question. That's something that I had to figure out along with Michael. Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So the next one is kind of like a. Is there more? Oh yeah, there's this guy. He is the
Oh,
first
cool.
guy that I was doing. Um, oh, I did a front view. I was like, okay, how does he look from the side? And then I did a side view, and I was like, oh, let's do a top view. Do a top view, and then oh, let's do a three quarters, and then I did this three quarters. I don't know. I mean, this seems like a tiny little minion fighter bot to me that he's like
Hmm.
flying around and going pew 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 pew, pew, right? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the tiny pew pew fighter definitely reads that way to me too. I also think if you made a couple of adjustments, you could probably get away with this being a sort of like uh, a heavy, like a heavily armored ship because the shape and the look of the component that makes up its body
Uh-huh.
looks like really thick steel to me. Like
Sure.
especially this kind of horseshoe shape you have going here
Hmm.
makes
Hmm.
it look like, damn, that thing, like that's a lot of armor.
Right.
Um, and then what you could do with the guns on the side is they could be like Gatling guns or machine guns like that, have a rotating barrel.
Yeah.
Then this thing could be like really heavily armored, small profile with big Gatling guns. So it does like, a whole bunch of
Yeah.
damage at
Yeah.
once. And so when these things come on screen, like, oh gosh, one of these things, I got to deal with this right away because otherwise it's going to really F me up. But I've got to shoot it a bunch because the thing it takes so many bullets to kill.
Yeah.
Um, so
It
yeah,
it
that,
it feels
that
like just like you said, it feels like you hit it, it's like pew, ow, 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 ow. You have to hit it so many times for it to
mhm,
actually like make a crack on its
yeah,
armor. Yeah.
exactly. But I
So
love
good.
it, and I love the shape too.
Yeah, if you notice, I'm more or less going with the whole horseshoe shaped on every one of them, just so that they kind of feel kind of like from the same
Mm-hmm.
manufacturer,
Sure.
whoever the aliens made these, right?
And what's cool about that too is you almost get sort of like fangs with these down
Hmm.
here,
Yeah.
which is cool. Love that.
Yeah, that's one little tidbit that I picked up when I was working at Petroglyph, the video game company.
Uh-huh.
Um, the my senior designer, Kian, he was really good at making villain robots, villain uh, um, vehicles.
Hmm.
He basically made the vehicles, made it at an angle, and then just add sharp little toothpicks at the end, carefully placed, so that
Uh-huh.
it feels evil. It's like, don't touch
Hmm.
me, I will cut you, I will poke you if you touch me. So you get that. Oh man, I don't want to touch that. It's very, what's
Nice.
that word? Threatening looking. So
Visceral. Hmm.
yeah, exactly. So that's why I added these like little tiny spikes at the end, like right here,
Yeah. Hmm.
just to show that they come from the same family and that they're spiky and you don't want to mess with them.
Yeah. I did. Wow. That worked so well. I didn't even notice that motif, but yeah, that's great.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that actually.
If you're okay with
And
it,
it
I'm going
almost
to.
gives them
Oh,
like it almost looks like, ears in a
yeah,
way,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
kind of cool.
Go ahead and close this. And no, thank you so much for this. This is awesome. All right.
Thank you, man.
So
Good
yeah,
work.
no problem. And so this is my version of Mini Boss. I'm not happy with it. I'm not really sure
Okay.
because I was definitely struggling. Here, let me show you one kind of a mini boss that I designed. Um, what would that? I don't know if I want to show that. No, I'll show that later. Um, I designed this first. Ah, come on, man. I designed this first. I was like, oh yeah, this is like a, I don't know, kind of like a disc bot that is floating, in space. And then
Hmm.
here you have a fuel cell. You have to you shoot these fuel cells and then it'll explode and then it'll hurt it. It'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
ah, ouch, and then, little other tiny robots can come here from inside and then it just comes shoots out at us. Basically, it's like a carrier, if you will. It's like a Protoss carrier. Um, and then so I was like, oh, what would it look like if it was from, the three-quarter view? And boy, when I drew this, I was like, this looks like a fucking Roomba. I was like,
Yeah,
uh-uh.
that's what I thought too.
Yeah, this looks so stupid. I was like, oh god. It looks cool from the front, but when you look at it from like, I don't know, at this angle, I'm just like, I
Hmm.
don't know. Maybe I gotta finesse it a little bit more, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, my knee-jerk reaction is at a glance, it looks more like a space station
Uh-huh.
than an enemy ship. It looks like it's
Yeah.
something that would be huge that you would like
Right.
fly into and fight other ships inside of or
Right.
around.
Yeah. So that's why I'm not like really including this in the review. I'm
Okay.
including these guys. Um, yeah, so I designed this guy first, and then the thing is, I'm not really in love. I love this shape. This is cool. I don't know what's good. This kind of reminds me of from Tron Legacy. It's that
Mm,
thing that
mm-hmm.
floats around and then lands.
Totally.
And yeah, maybe this thing grabs some stuff. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy right here, he's the in my mind, the mini boss is a kind of like a satellite turret, if you will. Not turret is not the right word, but kind of like a satellite beacon of some sort that
Mm-hmm.
story wise, it's it's placed here, and then because this thing is placed here, whole bunch of robots are drawn to it, and then so essentially we have to kind of destroy these wings. These
Mm-hmm.
are very much like the satellite dishes, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
order to stop the bots from coming into that certain location. And this is basically looking at it from the front, and then this is looking at it from the side.
Gotcha. And then
Yeah,
what about the one on the far
this one,
right?
this
Yep. What were
one,
you thinking with that one?
this one was something similar to this, and then I all of a sudden did not like where it was going, and then I started erasing stuff, and then I started developing this. I was like, oh, this is kind of a cool shape. I have no idea what the hell this is. This may not be, to be honest, I probably need more time to design the mini bosses.
Sure.
But I mean, this could be a mini boss. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a mini boss. This one, I would say, definitely is a candidate, and these are just, these are what it is. Your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts, man?
Sure. Um, n- and I'm hoping it's not just because it's the most rendered, but this one is definitely my favorite.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
I love that one. And I also really like the story aspect that you brought up with, these different pieces of the arm kind of being um, almost like
Here
antennas that are
comes
like
a new challenger.
broadcasting out
HR0LF is now
a
following.
signal, right? And you've
Right,
got
right,
three of them, so they're all kind of like going in all these different directions. And
right.
it makes sense for that to be a mini boss too. So perhaps he's like in this area, he's kind of like, the drone supervisor. He's
Sure.
like the supervisor drone where he's like in charge of this area and making sure that all the other drones are doing their job. And
Right,
so it makes sense you would fight your way to get to him. And then once you've taken him out, then the other drones don't really have a leader anymore. And so maybe,
right.
they're easier to defeat, or that kind of like liberates that territory.
Yeah.
I love the shape of the wings, especially where you've kind of got this, whoops, this this shape like this. Sorry,
Yeah.
that is super cool. I really like that. And that like the convex shape really indicates that sort of like signal shape, right? Like a
Hmm.
Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And maybe that gets implemented into the design somehow. Maybe that it has some sort of like defensive attack where it like broadcasts a shock wave or something to kind of like
Right,
blow the player away or like send projectiles away from it.
right.
Um, these cables that are kind of hanging down here are awesome. I really, really like those. I'm getting GLaDOS from Portal 2 vibes with this,
Oh,
which is
okay.
cool, which is
Oh,
great
nice.
because that
Nice.
gives this feeling of like, did you ever play Portal?
I've seen it, but I never played it. Isn't there another one like
Okay.
Portos 2?
Yes.
But by the way, King, welcome here, man. I see you, and Horoff, hello, how are you, man? Good to see you. But yeah,
Hey,
but
everybody.
yeah, um, yeah, go ahead.
So yes, Portal and Portal 2, the main antagonist is GLaDOS, who's this like super intelligent supercomputer
Hmm.
that has a physical manifestation of like her body, and doesn't look exactly like this. Like she looks quite a bit different, but it's similar in the sense that she's kind of got like a mono eye in the
Sure.
middle, and she's kind of like square shaped. And I think in the second one, I can't really remember the different like how her design changed between the two, but I think in the second one, because the facility in the first game kind of got mostly blown up, but she somehow survived. So
Right.
she's like reassembled a little bit more, and she's got some more exposed wires and things.
Right.
Having these sort of like, I would almost think these would be like hydraulic cables or something,
Hmm.
that maybe supply hydraulic fluid and power to the arms to move them.
Hmm.
Um, that looks really cool. And especially because in all of the other ships, all the other drones, everything's totally contained. You're not seeing
Yeah.
exposed wires. There's no dangly bits. Like everything's
Right.
real tight. That makes this thing feel special to me,
Right.
in a
And
really good way.
And also, if I zoom in really quick, I added a little tiny bit of detail, hoping that we can put some fuel containers in there to just let
Hmm.
the players know it's like, oh, this is more or less kind of like a vulnerable area that you can hit. Once you hit it, it explodes,
Mm.
right? It might not be properly placed, but I just want to add just a tiny bit of element there. I kind of
I
added
like
in
that.
here too. But again, I have no idea what this guy is. But yeah, no, continue, man. I'm so
That's a
glad
really
you
cool
I'm so
idea.
glad you
Oh, go
like this
ahead.
so far. But yeah, go ahead.
I love that one so far.
Nice.
I love it so much that we should really continue exploring and find a way to get that into the game somehow.
Great,
Even if it
great.
doesn't end up being, this first level mini boss, like I think
Uh-huh.
that's, I love that enough. I'd be really bummed if we didn't find a way to get it into the game.
Well,
Um,
fortunately, we control the game, so
exactly.
we will do what we want. Yeah.
And I love the idea about this sort of very minor green accent, because
Hmm.
what could be really cool with that is there could be a payoff. When you beat the boss, you get a nice big explosion. And that's sort of like
Right.
the little hint of like, he, both in the visual language of teaching the player what the different enemies are, where if you have like, oh, this enemy's like got a lot of green, so that means it's going to be pretty much defenseless, but have a lot, but be able to take a lot of damage. But when I blow it up, it's going to make a huge explosion.
Right.
The enemies that don't have that, like, okay, well, this is probably going to be a regular enemy who's is going to be able to defend itself. It's going to have like medium health. And there's not going to be a big explosion when I blow it up. And
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
bosses are like a combination of the two. It's going to have like a little bit of green, and then a lot of the other visual aesthetic choices, with the same like red dot being the sort of weak point, and a lot more silver armor. So it means it's really going to be able to defend itself, but at the
Right.
same time, when I finally get to blow it up, I'm going to get a nice satisfying explosion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, you've kind of got this combination of like, maybe it's those three different things where the drones have no green, the fuel or more defenseless units have a lot of green,
Right.
and then the bosses have a little bit of green.
Little bit of green. Yeah. Captain Blue says now I imagine green fireball explosions when you shoot them. Yeah, totally, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Great comment, man. But with that
Um,
said, though,
mhm,
I don't feel you probably need to look at the other two. I mean, feel free to give me comments on the other two. I'm not happy with them. I want
mhm,
to do a little bit more exploration with them, with
sure.
more concepts of the mini boss. But I'm glad you liked the one on the left, because that was one that I was like, this has potential, and I just kept going at it, going at it, and going at it. But yeah, I definitely will deliver a little bit more
Okay.
tomorrow, or not tomorrow, next time we meet. But if you have any
Wednesday?
comments for
Is today
yeah, if you
Sunday?
have, today is Sunday. If you have
Okay.
any more comments for the middle and the one on the right, please let me know. If not, then we could totally move on.
Minor comments that I have, I agree with you with the sort of like the Tron reference for the one in the middle, which is fine. I mean,
Yeah,
that's not a bad thing. Like that's an
yeah,
interesting shape. It's kind of, like
yeah,
a Torii gate or something.
yeah.
Um, I think it's not. It definitely could be a mini boss in maybe an area that is heavily focused on like digging and mining and things, because this kind of
Sure,
looks
right.
like it could be a digger boss or something where
Right.
these things are kind of like trowels that are it's like digging
Yeah.
stuff or something.
Yeah.
Um, it definitely reads like with this general shape, the way you have the proportions set up, this definitely reads like a heavy. Like I wouldn't expect this to be just a regular ship of that shape. I
Right.
would see
Right.
this and expect it to be, oh, that thing's really big and it's gonna have a lot of armor, and this is gonna be
Yeah.
really difficult for me to take out. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I don't get that with this guy. This one feels like it actually could be just a regular drone, but
Hmm.
maybe like a really fast moving drone. And maybe this piece down here,
Hmm.
I, my like knee-jerk reaction when I see this, that my expectation of what it would do is it would show up and it would sort of like have a brief period of time where it was trying to like lock onto you. And then once it did, this thing would move up into this position, pointing this way, and it
Uh-huh.
would like torpedo itself at you,
Oh,
because it's
cool.
you basically got this like drill spear thing here
Yeah.
that it would maybe just put that into position and then make a beeline for you and just like kamikaze into you.
Right. 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 Cool. 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 Yeah, I'm looking at this one right now. I'm like, you know what?
Hmm.
I'm looking at it front view, but what if we were looking at this from a top view? This looks like a really cool plane.
Ooh.
That's like a cool silhouette of a plane
Oh
from the
yeah.
top view, right? If
Hmm.
I if I went ahead and if I went ahead and took
Or
off
like
the
it's flying in this direction, right?
this, yeah, or yeah, it could fly this direction or this direction. I mean, it's like pointed this
Oh
way,
yeah, I
right?
guess you're right.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, it really depends. Like, it could go both ways, in my opinion. I don't know. But yeah, more exploration. I definitely will bring you up something more to take a look at
Sure.
next week or next week. Wednesday.
Yep.
Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um and I don't know if we
Cool.
want to talk about this one, but this is just it just feels like a massive like down down and like
Yeah.
I'm gonna drill into your the mountains, it's like a flying little thing. I don't know. I didn't really include it on there. It's just for fun. I don't expect
I
you to give
do
me.
like it though.
Oh,
The
okay.
the, the one thing about it that's really kind of cool is like right there, this almost feels like two different components connecting, where you've got this sort of like top piece like
Hmm.
this,
Hmm.
and then you got this drill piece in the bottom.
Yeah.
I almost imagine that this top piece can spin around. So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
maybe this thing's gigantic and player ship's only like yay big, and you're
Right.
flying around this thing and it's rotating to like kind of face you. And
Right.
these could be like, I don't know, almost like imagine angel wings with like feathers, but each feather is like a metallic finger kind of piece, and
Yeah.
maybe it's got guns on the tips of each of those. So like
Yeah.
here on each of these, it's kind of like, it raises up into position like this, and then it's shooting out at you.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. I mean, this one I feel
There's
it's all over the
potential.
place. This potential definitely. I need to hone it a little bit better. Did this one super late at night. Didn't really know what I was drawing, but something's better than nothing.
There's something there though. Like I think that could be
All right.
really cool actually.
Yeah.
I certainly like this one better than the
The
what is
Tron
the name
one.
of that ship from Tron? Yeah. Do you remember what that
The
is? What do they call this thing? I'm gonna
the
look it up.
rectifier? No,
Ooh,
no.
yeah, that sounds about right. Does anybody in
Uh,
chat know
Yeah,
what
does
that thing
anyone
is called?
know in the chat where, the Tron thing,
Tron
Tron
ship.
Legacy, the ship that floats like this, and then it lands, and then it grabs all the uh programs, and then it's either repurpose or rectify or destroy or whatever. Um, yeah, it's a super iconic ship. If you guys know, let us know. So let me go ahead and I guess that's it. On for the bots. Thank you so much, Michael and chat, for taking a look at this. And this morning I went ahead and did don't expect anything. amazing, but I did a super, super, super quick view. It's like a super cute uh
Nice.
uh it's like, oh, here's all these bots in flying, in the space, and then obviously this is way too cute, right? I added a rainbow
Sure.
here, and then this is our little guy like just flying, and it's like, oh, and then it's like, shooting. Um, just for fun, I thought it'd be kind of like a fun little environment exercise. Here's the little barn area. Okay, so yeah, so this is when I started realizing this type of level doesn't have that ravine, that crest, that a trench where
Mm-hmm.
you could fly in and out of. So when I was drawing this or sketching this, I'm just like, man, I need to talk to Michael and figure out how to make this level, the farm level, interesting. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm glad you have some ideas about the water reservoirs you said, dams,
Sure.
if you will. Yeah.
Um, okay, so on that, a couple of things to say, but on that point specifically, one thing that we could explore doing is entering the realm of the fantastical a little bit more and kind of
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
cheating a bit. One thing we could explore doing to give more verticality and interest to the level
Right.
is the farming environment doesn't have to be a typical, United States agricultural mega farm.
Right.
We could do something a little bit more. I don't know the like exact regions where this happens, but in certain Asian regions where they grow rice, they grow it in
In the mountains,
on
right?
like in terraced
Oh,
fields
terrace.
where
Right,
there's
right,
like
right.
multiple. It's almost like a series of steps or
Yeah.
stairs, and
Yeah.
you've got like a crops on one level, and then you goes up to another level, and so we could create like a fictionalized agricultural system where the the natural terrain is very mountainous, and so all of the agriculture is terraced,
Um,
which could
would
look
you
really
have
cool.
so Captain Blue says farm in the Alps?
There you go.
Nice.
Let's
But
check.
but yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. We can do something less horizontal and more vertical,
Mm-hmm.
making it a little bit more interesting to take a look at. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. So
sound
yeah,
of music
that's
style doing it in the
yeah.
Alps.
So basically, that is what I kind of did, um, and just for fun, I want to show you and our viewers as to how these more or less were developed. Let me see if I could pull up. Oops. So basically, it's just me going in there and drawing and developing and sketching and pushing and pulling to see if you know if the shape is working or not. This one is just this, but I'm curious if I actually recorded the other ones too. Um, so yeah, this is more or less the design process that I was doing. Oh, that's just me. And oh yeah, so this was the one. This is the robot mini boss that you and I both kind of like so far.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of just painting and figuring the stuff out.
Cool.
Um, yeah, so it's really relaxing. Like before it started off like this, right? And then I just felt it wasn't the right shape, and then I changed it and then put the gun at the bottom instead. Yeah, and these are the gas bots.
Oh yeah, that's cool. I like that little dangling nozzle thing you had going there. That's kind of
Yeah,
an interesting idea.
yeah, definitely. I tried it. I was like, ah, God, didn't know. Should I make the head taller or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the great thing about these videos is that I could always go back and be like, actually, the before design was much better than the final design. So it's good that, documenting these types of videos can definitely help
Sure.
go back in time and be like, actually, you had it right before, Chris. You fucked it up right there. You shouldn't have changed that. Ah, you changed it. Yeah,
Well, you had to change it to find out if
yeah,
you should have or
exactly.
not.
Exactly. But I'm sorry. Please go on. Continue with the Alps thing. You were looking at the Alps.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Captain Blue's suggestion is a
Yeah,
good one.
nice.
It's basically like, did you ever see The Sound of Music?
Yes, I did.
There you go. You
Nice.
know the part where she's
The
that
hills
famous
are
scene? Yeah,
alive
exactly.
with the sound of music. Yeah.
So it could be something like that, where you've got, a countryside, but it's right in the middle of, this mountainous
Yeah.
area.
Cool.
So we could do
Cool.
something like that.
Yeah.
Um, that image that you shared, I don't know like how, because you kind of introed that as being like, oh, this was just sort of like a fun hyperbolic thing. I don't know like how close that is to uh or like, was that just for fun, or is
That
that
was
to like
just
actually test out like
that
how
that
to get the bots and the other characters to mesh?
two things. That was more or less for fun. Let me go ahead and turn off the. I'm really reluctant to show it again, because that is not the final version of what
Okay.
I want. Hold on, let me go ahead and go back to. So I'm going to cancel stop sharing, and I'm going to go back to Zoom face. All right, hopefully we're back to Zoom face. Um, and let me do this. So currently we're still in working session, but we're probably going to
Almost
Q&A really
done.
soon. Almost done. Yeah, the reason why I kind of did that because last night I was, taking a shower and I was like, you know what? Again, that issue of very planar thing, and then I started like drawing in what it would actually look like. How can we make it more vertically challenged? Then I was like, oh, maybe there's like a windmill, but that's just one windmill. So what now? Like, okay, so
Mm-hmm.
I was really stuck, and so now do we populate the environments with the bots that's everywhere, Or I thought like a crazy idea is the robots made us like they have a shrinking ray gun. They shoot us and then we become really tiny, and then we're flying through
Mm-hmm.
the vertical cornfield,
The cornfields and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like,
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah. I had a similar thought about that, and that was my similar reaction too. Was like, I don't know about that. But
Yeah,
one other thing that I thought was kind of potentially interesting, um, both story wise and from like a bit of a gameplay perspective, but would also introduce a lot of potential design changes. You remember how we had talked about like the enemies being bugs or like kind of insect like, and
yeah,
taking some design inspiration from that? I thought
right.
like, wow, what if these were like space bugs that were coming here like locusts to eat the crops? And so that's why you're like, going after them and attacking them. And how funny would it be if like that was the explanation for crop circles? It was like the insects would be
Oh.
like marking the crops as like, oh, we want to come eat here. I mean, really stupid, silly idea, but yeah, kind of like basically making the alien robots space bugs, and that's the reason why they're here eating the agriculturists, because they're just like, like an interstellar swarm of locusts, really.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
Are
That's
you
kind of
liking that
cool.
idea? You're smiling.
That that's cute. I like that. Um,
Okay.
hmm.
Well,
I love
if we
the
want to do that, then maybe, the robots become a little bit more bug-like.
bug-like, right. I love the fact that, the whole crop circles. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought like, oh, that would be kind of silly and funny, like a silly explanation.
Yeah,
And we could kind
yeah.
of throw a little joke in the story, let some like where somebody finally figures out like, aha, that's why there's crop circles. It's these
Yeah.
damn bugs
Yeah,
finally
yeah.
came
And
to
yeah,
harvest.
they're marking their territory and those signs are kind of like a location beacon to tell the other locust robots to come and spread, So that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's yeah. Let me design some bug inspired bots.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. But with that
Um,
said, though, I definitely want to
uh-huh.
do a little bit more location exploration. Uh,
Okay.
see what kind of vertical elements in that we can learn from references, and not just um, the flat plain American, oh, it's just corn. Do you have
Right.
something to pull up?
Especially, oh yeah, I'm gonna pull up some images here.
Great.
Where, wow, I can't see this thing. Share screen. Yeah, kind of like this, right?
Yeah,
Where you could do this sort of like terraced step look, I think. And I just aesthetically,
it's
love
beautiful.
these
It's
patterns and
beautiful.
these designs.
Yeah,
Yeah, these look
yeah,
so cool. So, I mean, we could do something like that and really just lean into like taking the bits and pieces of various agricultural and environmental elements that we like and kind of, smashing them together into something that
yeah.
works for what we're trying to achieve.
Right, right. And I would even say we exaggerate because right now, if I'm looking at it as is, it's still um, very planar. I mean, obviously
Mm-hmm.
there's some angle to the hills, but if we can just like push them even closer together, so that it actually makes kind of like a trench like valley so that
Yeah,
we
almost
fly through.
like this one right here looks
Oh yeah,
much
yeah.
more vertical
Right,
than
right.
some of these other, like this one is almost flat, almost completely
Yeah,
flat.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Cat
definitely, man.
Captain Blue says crop circles idea works. That's the idea behind the movie Signs. Alien uses
Yeah,
crop circles to indicate where to gather.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
cool.
think I think I love the movie Signs so much that my brain is constantly trying to like, how do I make Signs? Like, how do we
Yeah,
remake that movie?
yeah,
Because that's one of my absolute favorite movies. Good
that's
catch,
cool.
Captain Blue.
Yeah, so that's cool, man. Thank you so much again for giving the feedback on the designs. I definitely will take your feedback as well as the new crop circle bug feedback and try to
Sure.
implement some additional designs for our next round. And yeah, yeah, I'll just keep working at it. And thank you,
Yeah.
Captain Blue, and everyone else who chimed in to give some good advice. That's super helpful. See, and I've been telling Michael as to why streaming is so awesome is because I get to meet people like you guys that gives me amazing advice and nudge me in the right direction. Um, yeah, so I mean that's really awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah. And the one last thing that I would say in your like exploration between now and next time, or whenever, if it takes longer than that, is the fun art that you showed. The one thing that I noticed about that is I feel like there's a big gap between the enemies and the like background and the main character and the plane in terms
Hmm.
of the aesthetic for the enemies being one thing and then the background and the character being another thing. Though those pieces, the character and the background, feel uh, much more like family friendly, G-rated,
Oh yeah,
cutesy,
yeah, yeah,
more
yeah.
chibi, and then
Right, right.
the enemies feel a little bit more like PG-13, a little bit more
Sure,
actually proportioned.
sure.
Um, so one thing to maybe consider in exploration would like find the sweet spot
Hmm.
between
Hmm.
both of those things. And with
Right.
bugs, we could probably even get away with making them a little bit cuter so they can
Yeah.
go a little bit more towards the chibi cutesy side and a
Right,
little less
right.
of the like kind of, authentic, scary PG-13
Right,
Terminator
right.
type
That's it.
drones.
That's the exactly thing that I was gonna say, that maybe the bug design is the kind of style that save is not the right word, but save the robots from looking too menacing. That bugs is
Mm-hmm.
it's nice round and I'm gonna say cute, but obviously we don't want to make them too cute that when we kill them we feel bad, right?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
oh, there's a
So
little
try to
ladybug.
strike that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoosh, yeah. So yeah, let me Michael, are you cool with the working session being over, and we'll move on to the Q&A session?
Yeah, sounds good. That's
All
all
right,
I
awesome.
had.
So yeah,
So,
right now,
well,
oh, go ahead.
real quick before we do that, homework. I'm going to keep doing the Unity tutorial, and I'll report back with what I've updated since then. You're going to work on more potential like bug designs,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
maybe keep exploring the different drones that we talked about, and oh yeah, and the verticality in
Verticality.
the farm
Yeah,
environment.
I want to start
Sure,
looking
cool.
at environment creation. Obviously, I'm probably not going to finish everything by Wednesday, but that's something that has bothered me ever since we talked about, oh, let's make the first level a farm, and then right away my
Mhm.
head's like, farms don't have trenches or ravines. It's just flat. How
It's
are
just
we supposed to
wide
just?
open, flat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's not interesting. I'm sure they can make so that's why I kind of did the whole thing and see if it actually worked or not. But I'm so glad that talking to you, talking to Blue, the whole making the rice or not rice, the tiered
Mhm.
vertical thing. What was the keyword that you put in Google for that?
Terraced.
Terraced. Oh, that's it.
Well, it's just like terraced fields or
Oh, terraced
terraced
fields. Got it.
agriculture.
Got it. Okay. Very, very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So I
One
will do
other
that.
thing to consider too, is we could, in the interest of like increasing the complexity, the difficulty, and the interest for the player as they play, the first level could be pretty, we could probably get away with it being pretty flat. That way there isn't a lot of stuff for them to crash into.
Sure.
And then as you move to later levels, there's more and more verticality, more and more stuff you have to dodge.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I guess what I'm trying to say there is that I think it's not necessarily like this big problem we need to solve, like, oh man, this first level is going to be really flat and open. That actually could be a benefit. It could be sort of like, training wheels for
Sure.
the
It's
player.
like the tutorial phase of the game.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
Because another thing that I was thinking is that there could be like the very first component of the first level doesn't include any enemies, doesn't include any shooting. It's just here's how to fly the plane. And so
Right.
you can tell you can have the play. Maybe the player is actually doing crop dusting, and so you could say like fly down here and then fly through these rings, and then when you do that, it's like, oh, great job, you dusted the crops, and
Right.
now land back in the barn or whatever. I don't know.
Right. Cool.
In the spirit of kind of what we talked about in previous sessions about having the tutorial taught to the player as they need to learn it
Game.
instead of like all up front, which
Yeah.
can be overwhelming and boring
Right.
and frustrating.
Right.
It's
Right.
like,
Absolutely.
you don't need to know that yet, so we're not going to tell you that yet.
Yeah. They learn as they play, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. So cool. I have my assignment. I will definitely work at it. Bugs as inspiration as well as environment locations. But yeah, so Q&A?
Yeah. Well, one quick other idea that I just had, there
Go
could be a
ahead.
combination of the drones and the bugs. It could be that the drones are like in control of the bugs and are using them to, I don't know, like mind controlling them or something.
The drones are
And then maybe
controlling the
you're trying to
bugs.
like liberate them. Like if you can destroy the drone mothership, the like robot
Uh-huh.
mothership or something, then it'll break the spell that has all the like the space locusts under control. And then maybe they're like, oh man, we're free now. We don't need to steal all your crops anymore. Well, or maybe they like team up with you. I'm like, oh, we'll help you fight the robots now. I don't know. Now I'm getting
No. You know what? That's actually a pretty interesting idea because remember how I said we can utilize their tech for our benefit? For example, like using the Rhine shield, and
Mhm.
Diva's Matrix, those are alien tech. But with that said, you just made a really good point that if these bugs, space bugs, are actually they have been colonized. Oh God, I have trouble saying that word. This mothership in the outer space, they're controlling these bugs. They're very neutral bugs, but because they're under the control of the mothership, they have to do her bidding, right? Let's just say
Mhm.
if there is a bug that crashes in our farm and we help restore it, that bug becomes, those top-down shooters, those video games that and then sometimes you get
Oh
like a little
yeah.
extra buddy on the side, and then it'll shoot with
Uh-huh.
you. Maybe we liberate one of those bugs, and then those bugs will like, thank you for saving me, and then it'll just fly alongside us, shooting to help liberate the
There you
other
go.
uh,
Sure.
bugs as well. That's a pretty
Yeah,
good
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Yeah,
No promises that I can program any of that,
yeah,
but yeah, interesting story idea.
yeah. So that's
Okay,
cool.
I promise I'm done now.
No,
We
no,
can
no.
move on to
These
Q&A.
these are great great ideas. It's very, very good. And it's so funny. It always comes at the last moment. It's like, oh shit, yeah,
Yeah,
that's perfect. It changed the direction. It's like, oh wow, it's
I
perfect.
know.
It's even better. So that's awesome. Hey Yeti, how are you? Oh, by the way, I know
Confetti Yeti.
we're in the Q&A section. Michael, I want you to meet King. King, he is a DM.
Hi, King.
Uh,
Oh,
he,
cool.
yeah, I've actually was on another streamer site. I can't pronounce her full name. I call her Andy because she has this really long screen name that I have a hard time pronouncing people's screen names. And they were doing a D&D session, and it was so cool.
Sweet.
They had like their voices. They had characters in voices in action, and it was very cool. And King is
Wow,
an
cool.
awesome DM. So, and he also invited me to be on part of their DM too. He wants me to talk about art, but I told him like, oh, I don't know, man. I'm not great at impromptu role playing. I'm just like, ano ne, eto. It's like, oh man, I get all freaking nervous and everything. But I told
Mhm.
him I don't want to say no to an opportunity. So if I crash and burn,
Sure.
I crash and burn. Who knows? But it's really, really awesome. But yes, Confetti Yeti. Hey, how are you? Um, and yeah, so right now, it is kind of a Q&A session. We'll keep talking until you guys have any questions for us. But yeah, like I guess the history of how we started, maybe we could talk about that a little bit, about how uh you know you're not 100% fully employed, I'm not 100% fully employed, and then we had more or less had the conversation of, boy, since we actually have free time right now, we should do something together, because you're a game designer, I'm an artist, let's create something, right? And then I think it started, God, I can't remember. There's like so many iterations of things that we did.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
do you
been
remember
quite a
what?
journey.
Do you remember what was the first thing that was it a card game that we did?
It was a card game. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A physical card game, not not like a Hearthstone kind of a thing, but like an
Yeah,
actual, we're gonna make a deck of cards that you can play a game on a physical tabletop with.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, Captain Blue says I have to go. Good luck, guys. I will keep updated. Yeah, no, thank you so much, man.
Awesome.
Again,
Thanks,
really
Captain Blue.
appreciate you for all your amazing feedback and advice, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
that was very helpful, actually.
Yeah, very, very helpful. But yeah, no, and later on that card game, and then some type of mahjong type card game that I came up with, and then we started doing like
Hmm.
this treasure hunter dealio, and then your card game, which I'm not gonna say right now. We'll save that for the future. And then we decided to do a video game based off of a tutorial that you're learning in Unity. So I think it's safe to say we took a good amount of time to explore and blue sky all this ideas out in order to get to where we are today, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And there's um, an interesting bit to discuss about that I think is actually related to a question that King has,
Oh,
because
nice.
King asks, how many bosses are going to make it into the game?
Hmm.
That's a very good question that we don't have the answer to right now.
Yeah.
And that's because the approach that we're taking with this game right now is to focus on what's called an MVP, a minimum viable product. And we have defined that for ourselves as being one level. we're going to create just the first level, which in this case is going to take place for now in a sort of farmstead agricultural kind of setting where it's presumably the player's home and it's being kind of invaded by these enemies, and then you have to defend your home. And there's going to be a couple of different enemies there. I think we settled on 4 enemies and a boss, or did we do 3 enemies and a boss? I think
3 enemies and
it was 3, but then we added the
and
shield
then-
bot, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this first level is definitely going to have a sort of like a mini boss / regular boss. And probably there will be a boss for every other level we make, but we don't know how many levels we're going to make yet. And that's something that we're going to figure out later. That's a bridge we're going to cross down the road, because right now our focus has to be on just figuring out enough the technical expertise on Chris's end to be able to model in 3D and to create the art assets, and the technical expertise on my end with programming and building the game in the Unity engine, in order to take those 2 things, combine them together and be like, hey, we've got a working playable level that people can download and check out, and that works. We can get feedback on. Once we cross that major milestone, then we can come back and say like, okay, either we did what we set out to do, we learned a bunch of things about Blender, we learned a bunch of things about Unity, we learned how to get those 2 things to play nice together in a way that makes a functional game. And now we're going to move on and do a new project. And or we decide at that time that, okay, first level's done. Now we know what we're capable of, and we know kind of like the bounds of the sandbox that we're playing in. Let's go ahead and map out the next 14 levels, and we'll say we'll have 15 total levels in the game. Or maybe we find that the way that the pace of our game is like kind of slower, you spend like 15 to 20 minutes in a single level. So maybe we decide, and we don't need that many levels. Maybe we only do like another 9 levels. So you've only got 10. Or maybe it's really fast paced and we find like, man, you blow through those levels real quick. And
Right.
so maybe we need like 50 levels. Don't really know. And if that's the case, we probably wouldn't want to design 50 bosses. We'd probably do like 1 boss every 5 to 10 levels.
Sure.
So you would have some levels in between that were just like, waves and waves of enemies, or maybe like obstacle courses or something. Don't really know.
Right.
But where we are right now is just focusing on making this 1 level. And that, I think, is a lesson that we've kind of arrived at because of the journey that we've been on. One of the things that kind of kept happening with this project is we would start off with sort of like a very small idea, and then Chris and I would get really excited about it, and we would add more ideas and be like, oh man, that'd be really great if we did this. And yeah, the scope of the project would balloon so much that it would become this huge, big undertaking, and that we would have to say, ooh, we're not ready for that yet. Let's take this, put that on the shelf, and let's try to do a little thing first. And then we work on that thing and get really excited about it and add more things to it and have better ideas. And then that thing would get really big. And we're like, okay, let's put that on the shelf too. And now let's start. And doing that enough times, we kind of, I'm hoping, have arrived at this point where we can say, let's limit what we're going to do, and we can get really excited about the possibilities. But for now, let's just do this one thing first, and then once that's done, then we can start adding to it. So right now, that's the goal, is 1 level, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, just 1 level, 1 boss, and just make it fun, make it playable. And what you've done so far in Unity, I can't wait to see how it works with the world that we create, based off of what you learned already. And it's definitely going to be a feat, because I've never designed a video game before, and I never created assets for a video game. Oh, that's not true. I've created concepts for video games, but I've never created 3D models of it. I never had to texture it. I never had to rig it. I never had to export it to Unity. So it's definitely something.
Different.
Yeah, it's so much different, because like I said on screen, there's so many departments in the video game industry where they just solely concentrate on concept design, and then solely concentrate on 3D modeling and texturing, and then solely concentrate on rigging and animation, and then so forth and so on. So with me being a concept artist, I have to learn the whole 3D aspect of it all, which makes me much, much more appreciative of what you guys out there are doing, the 3D modeling and the Unity stuff. It's not easy, and I tip my hat to all of you guys out there who are designers, who are very experienced, and you guys are hopefully you guys aren't watching us be like, they don't know what's coming towards them, all the stuff that the whole integration between Blender and Unity and all the pitfalls and blah blah blah. We're gonna discover that very really soon in the future, and but the goal is to just do it and learn and just go on this journey and hopefully take you guys with us, and whoever is interested in developing something like this. Doesn't have to be like a video game or anything. It could be writing a book. It could be drawing going from a stick figure to a anime character, a nice rendered anime character. It could be woodworking. I mean, not that we could help with woodworking or anything, but it's just something to show the community that as long as you have drive, you have good people working with alongside you, that could push each other to keep yourself accountable, that you can obtain and reach the goals that you set yourself towards. Whatever your endeavor is, just work at it one day at a time, and then so you can just reach your goal. The goal seems super high up here, but as you nibble it day by day, you'll just get more and more done. Oh, King says, I am wondering how many. Oh, hold on. I am wondering how many bosses can we look forward to, and how many variety will be in between them. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, and you said hello. Okay, King, I think Michael actually answered that question, but I want to say you probably was AFK, away from the keyboard when he was giving that answer. But Michael, really quick in like a sentence or two.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Quick technical thing on your end, is the stream running okay? It seems like it was frozen on my iPad for a second, and now it's stuttering and frozen. Or is that me? Is that just a problem on mine?
I'm not sure. I don't know because I am looking at on the chat that I have. It says the last two messages are from King. One is hello, and the other one is
the chat's fine. The video feed is like frozen and stuttering.
Oh, I see. I am fine. It looks fine on
Looks
my
good on your
end.
end? Okay,
Yeah.
great. It's probably just me. Yeah, the short recap on that question is we don't know how many bosses are going to be in the game yet. There will definitely, because right now we're currently trying to focus on just getting one level done in order to prove to ourselves that we can do it. Because like Chris said, neither of us have ever made a video game before. So we're learning this on the fly. And so to be able to just prove that it's even possible, we wanted to just make one level. Once that's done, then we're going to come back together, reassess, like, okay, what do we want to do with the project from here? And that might be mapping out another 9 levels, and each one of those levels might have a boss. And so we can say like, okay, great, we're going to have 10 levels total, 10 bosses, and then put a bow on it. That's the game. But we might find, depending on like the pace of the game, it might require, if the game's more faster paced, we might need more levels. If the game's slower paced, we could get away with fewer levels. So the long and short answer is we don't know yet, but we will hopefully be able to get to that answer soon.
And Michael, to answer your question, yes, the video on my end, we are very, very much stuttering. It's right now, yeah, you're locked in one position, I'm locked in one position. But chat, what do you guys see? Are we frozen? It looks like we are frozen on our end. But yeah, I think that's okay because I think we're probably wrapping it up kind of soon,
Sure.
right? Yeah. So
First
so funny.
Jitters.
Yeah. I'm wondering why. See, like this whole Twitch thing is very interesting because again, I'm still trying to like fix my settings and all
Sure.
to make it less like this, right? But yeah, no, I think this is great. We had some great interaction with the chat, and just this is an introduction to like a huge journey that we're going to go on, and everyone is definitely welcome to be with us and be go along for the ride. Yeah.
And I'm not, well, I don't hope the audio should be decoupled from the video, right? So like even if we're frozen, the stream should,
Yeah.
our audio should still
Yeah.
be going through it. Chat should
Yeah.
still be hearing us. Okay.
The chat
And
is
the one
definitely hearing us.
okay, great. The one other thing that I just realized, King's question kind of had two parts, like how many bosses would there be and how much variety would there be between them?
Got it.
When we cross that bridge about the variety between the bosses, my hope is that there will be variety in that. Like one of the things that I really enjoy with boss design is teaching players how to play the game as they play the game, and using bosses as sort of like gatekeepers to ensure that that player learned how to do that new thing. So one of the things that you'll see in a lot of like Zelda games is when you go into a specific dungeon, the dungeon usually has some special piece of equipment in it. And in order to beat the dungeon, you need to learn how to use that piece of equipment. So like when you go into the forest temple in Ocarina of Time, one of the weapons that you get is the bow and arrow. And once you have that, then you can, there's certain switches that you can hit that you couldn't hit before. And in order to beat the final boss in that dungeon, you have to use the bow and arrow in order to defeat him. And so that kind of game design philosophy is something that I really like and I'm really interested in. I'm not sure how much of that we can really incorporate into a flying rail shooter, but my hope is that that each of the bosses will kind of require the player to have mastered a certain fundamental skill of the game, and will have to prove themselves in that way. So hopefully the bosses will reflect that.
Yeah. Good answer, man. That's awesome. I want to say we're good.
I think that's it.
This has been a really good session. Again, Michael, thank you so much for your feedback as well as everyone else's feedback. Yeah, this has been awesome, man, and I can't wait to continue our journey together. And for me to figure out how to fix this whole stupid stream thing. Go on.
Yeah, sorry for the technical difficulties. This is a work in progress for Chris and I, and we will work through that. In the meantime, though, just to let you guys know, the schedule is basically this same time slot in the US time zones every Wednesday and Sunday night. What was it? I guess it's 7 p.m. Pacific Standard, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So every Wednesday and Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're going to be here doing this.
Yeah.
There may be a couple of days that we missed. We'll try to announce those ahead of time. But for the most part, we should be pretty consistent. And so if you guys want to hang out with us, that's when you can find us here.
Yep. Definitely. So yeah, thank you guys so much for being here, and I will go ahead and end the stream, and I hope to see you guys back on my channel and or back on Sunday and or Wednesday. Yep. Good. All right. Cool, man. I'm so sorry. I'm waving at you guys and you guys can't see it, but oh well.
We're frozen still.
We're totally frozen. All right. Talk to you guys later. Michael, you could totally still stay online. I'll go ahead and stop stream right now.
Bye,
King,
everybody.
actually, King just asked the last question. I missed it earlier. Are the enemies organic or mechanical? I want to say mechanical for now, but I mean, we could also develop them into organics later on. The true answer is we don't know yet. We're still developing all that story point element. Your thoughts, Michael?
Yep, I second what Chris said. The only other thing that I would add to that is, as part of the exploration process, and because we're both so new at this, one of the decisions that we may make is we may stick with mechanical enemies, because organic characters and organic animation is much more complicated than mechanical. It's a lot easier to design a robot with very geometric shapes and a very mechanical movement than it is to design an organic, character with bones and with range, with very organic range of motion and movement. So there's the possibility we may skew a little more towards the mechanical side.
Yeah, yeah, and plus it makes my life a lot easier doing mechanical.
It makes
instead of-
Chris's life easier.
Yeah, yeah, just one ball joint, and not have to, do the whole mesh going on. It's
Exactly.
like, yeah.
Need
Oh,
a
man.
shoulder ball and socket joint
Yep.
here, and it's got to have a
There and
rotator
done.
cuff. And
All right,
good
guys.
questions.
Yeah, great question. I will talk to you guys soon on my next stream. Hopefully you guys have a great night. We are both waving at you, even though we're like totally frozen. But yeah, talk to you guys soon. Have a great start of the week tomorrow, Monday. All right, talk to you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. I am stopping stream right now. Boy, so really quick, this whole freezing thing is not only me. I've been watching other people. Other people have been freezing as well. In their
Oh,
remember the double toasted people that I watch a lot? Yeah, he would be
oh, damn! It's
talking.
even happening to them.
Yeah, he would be talking. And all of a sudden, like he's like this for a very very long time, and then he's like, "Ah, shit! I'm frozen again. What the hell is going on?" So when I saw that, I'm like, okay, this is
It's
something's
that
going.
thing that's happening.
Yes, something is going on because this never happens when I am streaming a lot. But then again, I never watch myself during the stream, so I wouldn't know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, and that's another good reason, I guess, that you do your recording storage locally, because as
Oh,
long
yeah.
as your computer is running
Yep.
everything and it's not frozen, then we wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah, exactly. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording